Today's show is an interview with my friend David Chesky. Now, I have a feeling that many of you, or some of you, know of his work through his label, Chesky Records, or maybe his download service, HD Tracks, his high-res download service, or his latest endeavor, which is the Audiophile Society. So we talk about that, and his passion for making great recordings, great sounding recordings of great music. But we also tour his home system and also his studio, which is in his home. But I got to tell you, David is one of the most passionate audiophiles I've ever met, or in this case, I have a very long-term friendship with him. I've seen him go through lots of different changes as an audiophile. But he's also a serious composer of jazz and classical music. He's also obviously a record producer and a musician. So he has a lot going on. And that's where this interview is headed. Oh, but one other thing, David is offering a free download sampler of some of the best Audiophile Society tracks. And the link to that free sampler is in the description below this video. But anyway, let's get to my conversation with David Chesky.
So it's very important for me to be an audiophile, and especially I've made hundreds and hundreds of records, and it has to sound good. And then, I'm a record producer as well, and I'm a record producer out of need because, I have to produce the records the way I want to hear them.
Right, because you have a sound. I mean, that's always been your thing, is you have very specific ideas of what records should sound like, what recordings should sound like.
Right.
And how would you, what's the basics of that from a Chesky sound? What is a Chesky sound?
So when we started off, the Chesky sound was the sound of real musicians in a real room, and it was recorded with one microphone, a stereo microphone. Now I have this new company on the side, which I'm trying to expand. Look, audiophiles for the last 70 years, from the dawn of stereo, we've been stuck between the two speakers. You have a left and right speaker at 60 degrees, and that's where the sound is. And I'm saying to myself, okay, this is cool, but how do we go forward in this business technology? So what I'm experimenting now with my new company, the Audiophile Society, is to get out of the 60-degree triangle and get to like 80, 90 degrees, to have this massive sound stage where it's immersive. If you're in your house, I want you to feel that it's all of a sudden the house disappears and you're just in front of this giant wall of sound. And that's where I am. That's my trip. I mean, look, people can go in and make records distorted. You can make disco records, anything you want. That's cool. But my aesthetic is to make this immersive sound that's three-dimensional, super wide, super deep, and we can put height in there. So you just feel like, wow, my room has been transformed. And this is where I think audio has to go forward. And we can do this with two speakers, So look, anybody has their trip. You can listen to records from the 50s and dig it, and that's cool. But, we're 2024, and we need to go forward. And I'm trying to do this with headphones and speakers. And that's kind of my thing. It may not be for everybody. And what we're doing, it may not be palatable for people, but it's what I want to do at my stage of life right now, is to see how we can get this audiophile thing more engaging and just different and something new, because we just can't do the same model for 70 years.
Right. So you have quad ESL 57.
What I do with the 3D sound is very dependent on resolution, verbs, and phase. So I need a super phase accurate speaker. These are custom-made quad 57s that Kent at Electrostatic Solutions made for me. The regular quad, I think the diaphragm was 16 microns. This is a 3 micron. This plays much louder than a regular quad. It's very fast and super resolved. To enhance that, I made an Enigma electrostatic super tweeters on top of it.
Right.
And then I have the T7 rails down here for the bottom. I picked the T7s because they're very fast and they can keep up with the quad, and it integrates really nice. But this way, when I make an orchestra recording, I really need to hear if a truck is going by or something. Right. So that's important. I have driven these quads with many, many amps. So far, the most successful I like are the mono 60s from Nelson Pass. they just grip it, control it. Because, you know, the quad is a weird speaker. It's a half an ohm in the top and it's 32 ohms in the bass. So a lot of great amps that sound amazing on other speakers just fall flat in here because they just say, we can't deal with this load. Nelson's amps nail it. And then I have the MSB reference DAC, which is a ladder DAC. I think it's totally accurate in here. And I use that. And then I have also, this system is all wired with crystal cable. So it's a super resolved system.
And you're doing from local files.
Local file, everything is local files in here because I can't take a chance. I believe playing local sounds better than streaming with the jitter and all that stuff, but that's another discussion. So I use local in here for my pleasure, and it's mostly my work. So I need this very accurate, hyper-resolved system that can give me depth and all of that. And these speakers are super directive. So there's no room interference here. So it's like two beaming flashlights, and they hit me right in the ears, and then I know exactly that this is really correct.
Right. It's funny that you've had your dalliances with, I'm going to get something better, but you keep coming back to the 57s. You're never going to change from the speaker.
I mean, look, it could be another electrostat, but yeah. But the thing is, I'm listening for reverb tails. I want to hear half a second to 3/4 seconds. I want to hear different halls. I'm listening for resolution. You know, I listen for mistakes. You know, if I was like living on the beach, maybe I'd have a big pair of horn speakers playing reggae all day, and it's fun, and that's cool. But this is my job, and I want the most transparent windshield in the world.
Now it's interesting, in your studio room over there, you have the Maggies, the desktop Maggies.
Ready? So anyway, this is our post-production mixing room here. And it's kind of cool. We made it kind of woodstocky, you know, it's kind of, we have all these rugs I use for absorption because it just makes it a fun place because we're in here working, and my daughter and her friends and producers are in here all night, so we want to have a happy mod. But anyway, behind me, can you see this microphone?
Yep.
So this microphone is what we do. It's a stereo mic, and we can
Just move back a little bit.
Okay, so this microphone is a stereo mic. I just set it up for you. So we can do a symphony orchestra with it. It's an AEA ribbon stereo microphone. My daughter also can sing. We can use it for singing. So that goes into, we have these modified George K mic preamps. They're all tubes. I have other tube preamps in here. And that's our chain here, which goes into isotope interfaces with the console, with the workstation. Also, we have in here a bunch of speakers. We have 5. We have 3 up now. We have the Maggies, the desktops, with the true ribbons. And then I have the Dyne Audios, and we have the Harbeth Peak 3s. And we use all of them to check them all out. I have a pair of TADs underneath you and a pair of Verities, and we switch those out as well. I have Charlie Hanson's amp under here, the Air, which drives this whole thing. Okay, and in here is a lot of guitars. We have Stratocasters, Les Pauls, acoustic guitars, because the kids play, and we have Fender amps in here, which you don't see. So when we mix for headphones, I have to try on everything. So we have a pair of Audis. We have the top of the line Hi-Fi Mans. We have the top of the line Sonys, and we have the Abyss, and we have other ones, and I also have a pair of AKG 812s, which I just dropped, so I had to send those out to be fixed. Okay. And we have the Grados, so you can see we test them out on everything, because if I mix on this, it's got to sound good on this and this and this. Also, we have keyboards, because we make music in here as well. And it's a fun place to hang out and, you know, create the music in here. So when the kids are here at night, they put on the lights, and it's like, you know, like it looks like a disco or something. They like all that mood lighting. When they start to make their rock records at night, it's got that vibe. So, but I like the daylight, you know.
All right, this is nice.
And look, I play every single day music, Music doesn't have this edge to it. It's hi-fi is almost like fluorescent. It's hyper real. If you hear a violin, it's not this screechy thing, it has a body to it. And what I like is with the ribbon, it has this mid-range like a quad. It is just so beautiful and so resolved and natural. And this is why if you listen to a lot of old recordings, I think from the 30s and 40s, when they just came out with ribbons and you listen to the vocals, even though the highs and lows are not there, there's a naturalness there that you say, oh, my God, that's real. So my thing is realism. It's like, I guess, art. I would be a Dutch flower painter realist, and then another guy who does hip-hop does abstract painting. I want to capture reality. I want to take your room and with our recordings and transform it like you are there. We're going to just put the orchestra and the band right there, and your speakers have to disappear. That's another thing. I don't like to hear the speaker. What we're trying to do with our process is make it disappear so it's seamless, and that's the way it has to be, this seamless wall of sound.
Right. So for all those years with Chesky Records, you're recording, I think, almost 100% to 2-track.
Correct.
But now, for the Audiophile Society recordings, the number varies. Some of them are 2 tracks and some of them are more. Is that true?
Yes. Well, here's how we do it. Our classical recordings are done with 2 spaced omnis, Sennheisers, over the conductor's head, 192, into a mic preamp, okay, a tube or the AEA preamp, 192 converter, and that's it. And then I can mess with it later and fix it and expand it and enhance it a lot. Because, it's like stairs. We can walk to the 11th floor or we can take the elevator. When we started doing this 20, 30 years ago at Chesky Records, we didn't have all this DSP. Now with DSP, it's this amazing tool to make things even better and better. With my jazz group, I can do 3 or 4 or 5 tracks, not a lot, or we can do 2. With people like my daughter who's doing pop records, they can go to 150, 200 tracks, like nothing, really? Because it's a different demographic. And for those records, I don't even produce and engineer those. I started doing it, but now they have younger people. It's a different sound. She's going for 18, 19-year-old people, and it's her thing. And you know what? They have to do their thing. It's not my sound. As a matter of fact, I tried mixing one of her records, her newest one, and it just sounded so clean because my thing is naturally to go clean. And they want it really grungy and funky. And it's an aesthetic, distortion is an aesthetic. Somebody could go to Jimi Hendrix and say, my God, it's distorted. But that's the sound he's creating, and it's totally valid. Because that's their thing. When you hear Zeppelin, you want to hear that distortion. My aesthetic is like a restaurant, a French restaurant. My aesthetic is clean as possible, transparent as possible, biggest soundstage, biggest depth, and tonal accuracy. That's my restaurant. The guy who was in that restaurant next door is compressed and grunge, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. What about the record, the one that's out now, the one with Cafe?
Yeah, Amazonia.
How was that done?
I did that entirely here.
In this room?
I did this in this room, and every track is recorded with him, overdubbed, and we did every single track with a ribbon microphone and a tube mic preamp. And that, people are blown away. As a matter of fact, the German magazine just gave it the best sound of the month. And then I created all of that artificially in DSP, and it's super wide, 3-dimensional.
The nature sounds.
Nature sounds, and we just did, we did like 30 or 40 tracks, and we mixed it and balanced it out, and it blows people away. It's kind of cool, that sound stage. It's just like your whole room is transformed into a rainforest. This room has the quads, and then I have another studio which you have pictures of, which has the Sony ARs, and I like those because it has dynamics and punch that I can't get on the quads. And I switch out amps. Right now I'm using an old Peachtree iDeco 65. I like it. It's got a nice power supply, and it's got some punch and balls, and it sounds good. I have straight wire in that room, and that's it in that room. TAD micros are with the passes upstairs. We can open up the hi-fi so, but you know what? We need to hear these on all these things just to get an idea what's going on out there. So it sounds good, But like I said, for the basic thing, I like the quads because I can really test it on the quads. I mix in the other room, and then I transfer to the quads to double check, and I say, oh man, I messed that up, and go, it's just this amazing lens. Then I bring it to the Sonys, and then I can see the visceral impact and all that, and then play it on all the other speakers too.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? My thing is this. If I'm going to make a record, and it's going to be done once, forever, I want to make it as good as I can. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be love to have this magic button that's done, but I don't have that, luxury.
You like the process.
I like the process, and it's a challenge because you know what? Like I said, the music I make, and look, I write classical music and modern jazz. So the Philharmonic's not playing it. They're playing Tchaikovsky piano concerto, this and that. They're not doing what I want to hear. And the music I want to hear, I have to listen to on recorded music because it's not even being done. Like other people that I dig that it's not even my own music, I can't hear. So hi-fi is better. And I'm going to tell you something else why I like I like hi-fi even better than live for a few reasons. I got tickets Friday night to go hear a concert, right? I didn't sleep Thursday. I had a tough day at work. By the time I get to the concert, I'm not ready to receive the music. I'm like, okay, let's go.
Right.
But hi-fi, I can put it on. I can get up Sunday morning in my pajamas. I feel really great. And I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to listen to Zarathustra. And I hit play. And I said, wow, what a great performance. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to hit play again. So you have this at your fingertips. And that's why it's important. Because, you don't need, hi-fi is also about tone. The secret in music is tone. I can pick up music and just read it like a newspaper. It's nothing for me. I don't even have to hear it. I can just pick it up and I hear it all in my head. It's an abstraction. But what makes the poetry in music is the tone. When you take a guy like Sonny Rollins, who practiced his entire life, why? This tone. You take a guy like Hendrix or Clapton. Tone is the poetry of music, and you have to capture it. And when you capture it right, it's another level of experience. I can take out my iPhone and I can watch Star Wars on it right now and follow the story. It's not the same experience as seeing it in an IMAX theater. And that's what I want to bring to people who listen to these new records in the Audiophile Society. Just another level of wow factor, like this is really cool,
That's beautiful. Wow, that was a great way of putting it, yeah. Right.
So anyway, look, what we're doing may not be for everybody. We have a club. We're trying to get people to support it.
The Audiophile Society.
Yeah, the audiophilesociety.com. You can come and you get a free sampler, and you can listen to the headphone mix, you can listen to the speaker mix, and see if this is something that you're into. May not be your thing. You may want to spin vinyl of 1960 records, and that is totally cool. But if you want to try something where we're saying we're going to at least try to pull this thing into the future, I think this is the best bet.
Well, you put your heart and soul into it, that's for sure.
Well, it's a thing for me. You know what? I don't need to do this. I do it because I love it. It's sort of like, I think music and audio and art is sort of like being, I guess maybe a priest. You're just called to it. It's a higher calling. If there's something, you know what's cool about high-end audio? I'm going to tell you this right now.
A lot, actually.
That people in there, if you go up to a guy at a hi-fi store and say, I realize you sell the most gear, you're the richest manufacturer, he'll say, okay. But if you go up to a guy and say, you know what, this is the best amp I ever heard in my life, he's going to say, thanks, wow. Because you know what, these guys are all artists. Instead of playing the piano and instead of painting, they create art with a soldering iron. And it's art, high-end audio is arts and crafts. It's not somebody saying, how many boxes can we sell this quarter? They don't think like that. They're thinking like, how can I make the best thing, put my soul, my love, my heart into this thing? And then, therefore, high-end audio is an art form.
That's true. I believe that, for sure. All right. I think we've done it.